This is the story of Cinderella. You can read along with me in your book. It's time to turn the page when you hear this sound. Let's begin now. A long, long time ago, there lived a kind and beautiful young woman named Cinderella. Cinderella had to work from dawn until dark, cleaning and cooking and sewing and washing, while her wicked stepmother and two spoiled stepsisters did no work at all. Cinderella's mother had been gentle and full of kindness, but she had died when Cinderella was just a little girl, and Cinderella's father did whatever the stepmother and her two daughters demanded. One day, exciting news came to Cinderella's home. The king was having a grand ball to find a wife for his handsome son, the prince. All the eligible young women in the kingdom were invited. Cinderella's stepmother was very pleased by this news.
Surely,
she cackled,
one of my fine daughters will win the prince's hand.
But Cinderella was very sad.
My stepmother will not allow me to go to the ball.
She thought.
And even if she would, I have nothing to wear.
For unlike her spoiled stepsisters, who wore fine dresses and jewels, Cinderella had only dirty rags for clothes. Now, in addition to all her usual chores, Cinderella also had to sew her stepsisters' gowns and arrange their hair and polish their jewels. On the night of the ball, the stepmother and the two stepsisters could barely contain their excitement.
Now, daughters,
said the stepmother,
you both are so dazzling, surely one of you will catch the prince's eye.
Ooh, I hope it's me,
cried the older daughter.
You haven't a chance.
The younger one replied.
It's me the prince will choose.
As the three of them rode away in their coach, Cinderella sat down on the kitchen floor and cried. She wanted to go to the ball, too. Suddenly, there was a puff of smoke from the fireplace, even though no fire was lit, and a kind-looking woman, about the same age as Cinderella's real mother, appeared in the room.
Who are you?
Cinderella asked, too surprised to keep crying.
I'm your enchanted godmother,
the woman answered,
and we must hurry or you'll be late for the ball.
With that, the enchanted godmother led Cinderella out of the kitchen and into the moonlit garden.
Fetch me a pumpkin,
she said, and Cinderella did, although she didn't see how a pumpkin was going to help her get to the ball.
Pumpkin, become a coach,
said the godmother, and suddenly the pumpkin turned into a magnificent ivory coach with gold trim. Next, the enchanted godmother lifted an old wooden bucket that had been lying in the garden and uncovered 6 little field mice who had been hiding underneath it.
Mice, become stallions,
said the godmother, and suddenly the mice were changed into a team of 6 powerful horses harnessed to the coach. Just then an old rat with long, long whiskers poked his head out from behind a rock to see what all the commotion was about. Seeing him, the godmother commanded,
Rat, become a coachman.
And the rat was instantly changed into a handsomely outfitted coachman. His whiskers were now a full mustache.
Now I have a beautiful coach, wonderful horses, and a handsome coachman, but I still can't go to the ball,
Cinderella said.
After all, rags are the only clothes I own.
But even as Cinderella spoke, her enchanted godmother waved her arm, and the rags were transformed into a beautiful gown of gold and silver, with radiant jewels and elegant glass slippers for Cinderella's feet.
Oh, thank you, godmother, thank you,
Cinderella exclaimed.
I can't wait to go to the ball.
Enjoy yourself, Cinderella,
the godmother said.
But watch the time, for at the stroke of midnight my spell will end, and the coach will turn back to a pumpkin, your horses to mice, your coachman to a rat, and your beautiful gown will turn to rags once again. Make sure you leave the ball before 12.
I'll remember your warning,
Cinderella said, and off she went to the ball. When she arrived, everyone gasped at this beautiful princess whom none of them had ever seen before. They whispered. Even Cinderella's stepmother and stepsisters didn't recognize her. Cinderella had scarcely time to look around the magnificent ballroom before the prince saw her and swept her away. For the rest of the night, he would dance only with Cinderella. The hours flew by like minutes, and in no time at all, Cinderella glanced up at the clock and saw that only 1 minute remained until midnight.
Oh, how did it ever get so late?
Cinderella said.
I must go.
Wait,
Called the prince.
tell me who you are and where I may find you.
But Cinderella was already down the palace steps and in her coach and through the palace gates when the clock struck 12. And then she was standing alone in the road, dressed in rags. Her coach had turned back to a pumpkin, and her horses and coachman had turned back to mice and a rat and had scurried away. Cinderella hurried home on foot, arriving before her stepmother and sisters. They were very jealous of the mysterious beauty who had stolen the prince's heart. Meanwhile, the prince was desperate.
I must find that young woman I danced with,
He said.
but my only clue is this glass slipper that flew off her foot as she rushed out the palace door.
So the prince traveled far and wide through his kingdom, visiting the home of each woman who had attended the ball. Finally, the prince arrived at Cinderella's home. By this time, he was very tired and very discouraged.
Try this slipper.
He bade the older stepsister, but her foot was too wide.
It fits perfectly, my beloved.
The older stepsister grunted as she struggled to stuff her foot into the slipper, but the prince saw that the slipper did not fit. The younger stepsister tried the slipper next, but her foot was far too long for it.
I believe it fits her well.
The stepmother said hopefully, but the prince was not fooled.
Are there no other young women in this household?
He asked.
None but Cinderella.
Said the stepmother.
She's far too plain and dirty for you, your highness.
Bring her to me.
The prince insisted, but his voice was sad. When Cinderella came out, dressed in her rags, her stepsisters giggled, but the prince saw her beauty and his heart lifted.
Try this slipper.
He said, and of course it slipped right onto Cinderella's foot.
It's you!
The prince shouted.
I finally found you. Now I ask you to return with me to my palace and be my bride.
Cinderella left with the prince that very day and married him in a magnificent wedding at the palace. And even though her enchanted godmother was not one of the wedding guests, Cinderella knew that somewhere she was watching and wishing her well.